Hey everyone, and welcome to part 2 of my One Piece D&D timeline videos. Today we'll be covering from episode 25 to 49. For those of you unaware, One Piece D&D is a One Piece based campaign set 22 years before the current storyline. It's DM'd by Rustage, played by Tekking101, LostPause, 2 Spooky, and Briggs. It's streamed on Twitch and posted to his second channel, Rustage2, once edited. Again, like I said last time, this is simply a recap, not a replacement to watch instead of the official release. And with that out of the way, to space!
Oh, hold up your flagons and raise up the sails. Masthead of Latin, so we take them off our tails. We don't fly off the wagon, we don't leave any ale. So we go trekking with the luck that never fails.
The Devil's Luck pirates, now floating through space, managed to defeat and murder V, but were almost wiped out by the remaining robots still set on obliterating the crew before they could even become a proper space pirate crew. With a lucky guess on the correct button from Verona though, they are able to deactivate the BattleBots and finally take a rest to recuperate as they rocket towards a sphere in the color of red and white. Planet Duros. They were soon shot down by Helios and his Starin slaves as they crash land in what seems to be some ancient ruins, resulting with the ship in disrepair. An attempt to achieve friendly relations was made, but to no avail. Helios was quick to demand they come with him as prisoners to be experimented on, to which they humbly agreed. Psych! Of course they didn't. The crew pull out a special ambush attack, aptly dubbed the Devil's Luck Jackpot, ensuing in the Centurion being knocked unconscious, tied up, and disarmed. The trident he had was given to Cyril, and they begin interrogating the man. They learn that he was going to take them to Inquisitor Cornelius, and also that Emperor Dominius is the leader of the entire planet, whom they worship as an all-powerful 1,000-year-old deity. Leaving him tied up, they venture further into the ruins, where Duros uncovers an ancient shield with a sort of tortured-looking face etched into the weapon. Duros picks it up, and suddenly his eyes go dark for a moment, but regains consciousness quickly, only to find the shield's mouth moving, whispering to Duros in a raspy voice while latching onto the knight, dubbing Duros his master. William then turns the corner and sees his first mate seemingly talking to himself as the shield is murmuring misguidances to Duros. Notes only Duros can hear the shield he dubs friend, causing the crew to wonder if Duros is starting to lose his mind. Back to Helios now, they figure out where the nearest civilization is and leave the Centurion behind along with Bullet so he doesn't starve. Then they make their way there to hopefully find someone who can make them a ship. Them is only one group though, the Devil's Luck pirates, including Cyril now, as William slipshottily knighted the boy, which are one group, the other being Hemlock and Blake, who also ventured a different way to divide and conquer. Reaching the city, they realize how out of place they appear in their dirtied and bloodied, not to mention all bluey in attire, so they decide to acquire some new wear. They knock out a tailor, steal some robes, along with jabots, steal the dough and walk out with their clothes. Next, they waltz their way down to a local tavern in hopes of acquiring some more information. Here, Ragnar bribes a just barely intelligible bartender who lets them know that down below this very pub, in the sewers, that they may be able to find someone who they can hire to build a spaceship. The group pry open the nearby manhole, descend the ladder, and walk through the tunnel until before long had discovered a door. They knock, and a man answers who lets them in after Duros hands him 20 domins. That's the currency on planet Duros. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but there you go. And they're opened up to a large black market. They perceive a shop called Lissa's Mechanics, where they're told is the ideal place to buy a ship. And upon reaching her shop, they're told some good news and some bad news. Good news is she knows someone who can build one, her granddad, Aurelius. Bad news is Inquisitor Cornelius captured him after discovering his spaceship building activities. So she hires them to find Aurelius, and in turn, will have her granddad build a ship for them so they can fly out of here. Agreeing to decide on infiltrating a ball the Inquisitors are engaging in with the aim to acquire some information on his location. Before leaving, Lissa's first moves are made on Verona. Also, they decide to leave Louis, Cyril, and Gravy here while they attend the party. Dressed to the nines in disguise, they arrive at the party, blending in, subtly questioning the other Inquisitors. William and Ragnar discuss with Maximus, who is entertained by the two, so he brings them over to Cornelius. Here, Ragnar takes the initiative and successfully schedules a duel against the Beast in the gladiatorial arena for Cornelius' entertainment. Meanwhile, Duros and Pearl attempt to question Luna. He ends up flashing her the shield, to which they exit the ballroom together to talk more privately. Here, Luna is flabbergasted upon learning he's from the All Blue with the name Duros. the same name as the planet. He tells her about Helios' situation, to which she threatens and interrogates Duros, but he doesn't get far before Ragnar walks out and causes her to scamper off to rescue her brother, dropping her jabot in the process. After everyone eventually exits the building, they dash back to their ship to make sure 1. Nothing happens to bullets, and 2. No information about their true identity is leaked. They call the rest of their crew and their talkie-walkies Lissa built them and tell them to meet up at the ship. When they arrive, fortunately Bullets is safe, but unfortunately Helios is missing. Realizing they missed their opportunity, they take another walk back to the town yet again for Ragnar's gladiatorial debut. Well, without further ado, Cornelius endows the crowd with the knowledge of their leader finally accomplishing his goal of creating a weapon to annihilate planets. Upon hearing this, the Colosseum erupts in a cacophony of cheers as the battle begins. It doesn't last long though, because Ragnar was quick to turn into his grisly form. Upon seeing this, Cornelius declares their battle over, calling the barbarian a demon, and that he would be taking over to personally rid the world of him for Dominius. The crew soon step in and before long absolutely curb stomp Cornelius, as Duros pierces his body and holds his lifeless corpse up with benevolence for the crowd to witness. In a state of confusion, the stands of the arena swiftly lose their occupants as they charge down the stairs to attack the group. With the Beast, Aurelius, and some Starin joining them, they retreat as fast as they can back to the sewers. En route, once at a safe, no need to rush, alley, the Beast tells them all about how he, as well as many others, were experimented on in hopes of replicating Ragnar's grizzly bear capabilities, as well as the fact the grizzly bear along with a few others were the cause of their god being banished here. Also, the one who controls time is apparently the worst of them. Following that, they reached Lissa again, reuniting the granddaughter with her grandfather, and the Beast decides to stay behind to lay low for a while to become an accountant. Next, Lissa gives Verona an attachment for accuracy and joins them on their quest to defeat Dominius. Upon exiting the sewers, they're greeted by Luna and Helios, who declare their lives forfeit to Dominius. They do defeat the siblings and reveal underneath Helios' bandages as a galaxy texture, the skin of the Starinkin, which he appears incredibly embarrassed about. The crew begin to awaken in the boy the possibility that they may not be demons, and that the Emperor's teachings are indeed quite wrong. Once calmed down, Luna, having no choice, tells the crew about the scriptures of their people, the crew suspiciously matching every one of their descriptions besides one being misplaced. Duros. His description wasn't in the writings. Over the next few minutes, the crew partake in the arduous task of convincing the Inquisitor her whole life had been a lie, which the crew do eventually succeed to win the duo over. Gravy prepares a feast, they rest up, and onward they march toward the capital. Arriving before the mountainous city gates, they are approached by Maximus and Aster. A relatively difficult battle was had, but the two Inquisitors met defeat, with one, Maximus, dead, and the other, Aster, giving up, putting on a freestyle rap performance before flying out of there. They enter inside the city and ascend the main staircase until reaching the throne room. Atop his throne was Emperor Dominius. The man monologued, explaining how the armor he now wears enlightened him as to how the Devil's Luck pirates he knew were using and manipulating him for their own selfish needs and desires. So he cut them down, slaying each and every one of them with his newfound godlike power in the form of his armor. Dominius continued, explaining that just before he'd killed them all, Louis forced the man 1,000 years into the past, and ever since has been awaiting the day the demons would arrive to exact his revenge once more, commencing the battle with a swing against Luna and Helios, knocking Helios unconscious immediately. Louis was going to reverse time on Helios, but Ragnar chimed in instead and suggested a heal on himself, to which he obliged, causing Helios to bleed out shortly after. Later on, with the battle reaching its climax, hope was slowly dwindling. Many of the crew were already knocked unconscious or immobilized by the evil Duros. But just then, an old Louis Leclerc from Duros Black's timeline appeared, reverting all of the ally states, completely healing their wounds and awakening them once more. Sadly, this also resulted in this version of Louis dying, having used the last of his strength to enact this reversal. Reinvigorated, the battle continues, eventually leading to the point of Duros at last overcoming the shield's manipulation attempts, convincing the evil shield to be evil no more. Donning the name Friend, Duros and the shield stand together to defeat evil Duros at last. And defeat they do! Friend, having absorbed a good few attacks prior, delivers that blow back to evil Duros, engulfing him in flames, destroying the armor, causing the corrupted emperor to age to death in seconds. The next day, they hold a funeral for Louis and Helios, and later indulge in a celebratory banquet where Verona officially invites Lissa onto the crew. Speaking of official, Luna is officially crowned as Empress of planet Duros. Also, during the night, Duros and Luna get it on. And by that I mean they fuck. Tomorrow, since Lissa's grandfather had at last completed their spaceship, they make their way to the launch site. Also, Lissa decides to join up with them, so she bids her grandfather a tearful farewell. The crew draw some wacky designs on the otherwise bland ship, and rocket back to the All Blue. On the way down, they, of course, reminisce, but also Lissa creates a healing robot they dub Healy in the name of their fallen comrade. Landing, the airlocked entryway of the ship opens, and they're greeted with rocky and mountainous terrain, as well as hundreds of uncannily close to human-looking stone statues scattered about. Greeted by the Trojan pirates, they are tricked, and Cyril is turned to stone, and then Louis reverses it, to which he is turned to stone. Long John Magnum, their captain, declares the only way he's gonna be turned back is through their victory in a Davy backfight. They understand, and destroy them at their own rigged game. Verona and Gravy intimidatingly devour the eating contest. Pearl and William fly their way through the minecart race, and Duros and Ragnar confidently defeat their captain with ease. Stoner turns his captain to stone afterward, and Louis is released from his petrification. In that moment, Stoner is shot by Cyril's brother, Everest, who'd come to arrest the Trojan pirates. Understanding he's far outnumbered here, he allows the devils a retreat onto any of the 100-something ships surrounding the island. Before they leave, they catch wind of the nearby island of Stalingrad being under attack. The crew decide to head towards the island after receiving an eternal post there from Everest. Since Cyril was clearly distraught, the Marines wouldn't be intercepting the attack. Also, before they leave, heading back to the Oasis, Hemlock and Blake finally take their leave together with Bullets, Humphrey, Malaise, and Taurus. The latter three are former members of the Trojan pirates who were clearly taken advantage of. Anyway, after they shit on mimes for 30 minutes, they take the mime pirate ship and sail towards Stalingrad, a Nordic-esque town. A bit of investigating later, and they arrive at a bar where the new bartender, Nanute, is giving away free ale and food. Verona, suspicious, animates one of the bracelets he was giving away, forcing Nanute to push a button under the bar, causing everyone in the bar to writhe in pain as all the water in their bodies was drained, as they shrivel up like prunes. Shortly after, locusts begin emerging from his body, filling the room with insects. After dealing with Nanute, Louis notices a necklace attached to his person. He investigates and realizes it's similar to the one his brother wore. Next, they see a zeppelin floating in the sky, and shortly after witness none other than Trevor falling from said blimp. They rescue him from the water, and after an angry back and forth between the two parties, Trevor begrudgingly requests for their assistance in taking down the captain of that ship, Rear Admiral Jefferson. With a bright idea from Lissa, the crew and Trevor create a makeshift hot air balloon and float up to the zeppelin. There, they are met with the Rear Admiral himself. A tough fight through multiple levels of the balloon later, and the crew had successfully subdued Jefferson, where they noticed the same necklace they saw on Jefferson and the Timberlord. Also after the fights, Trevor personally apologizes for what happened to Verona's father after he'd finally come to his senses, finally seeing for himself and thus understanding the deadly corrupt deeds his comrades partake in on a regular basis. While they were interrogating the Rear Admiral, a Sea King appears on cue as Jefferson confidently declares they won't be able to defeat the Aeons, to which William gave Trevor his sword back, and after everyone weakened it greatly, sliced the beast in two. During the battle, the zeppelin they were on crashed down into the water, and they rode their way back to Stalingrad on their hot air balloon ship, where they officially decided it was time to take down this vermin. Also, during their way back, Trevor's sword is stolen back by William. Anyway, they pillage the ghost town previously known as Stalingrad, dub the sole survivor mayor, and take one of the ships in the ports as their own and head towards the Aeons base on the nearby Kronograd. Once docked, they leave Lissa and Gravy on the ship and march into town. Here, they find the fantastical Phelan in the middle of a magic show, where William volunteers Trevor to help with their performance. After that trick, annoyed to all hell, Trevor decides to go off on his own and defeat the All-Mother himself. Following the show, her boyfriend, Captain Everest, appears and informs her of all the terrible shit the devils in front of her have done. To which they stance up and a battle ensues, ending with Ragnar Kuma bonking Phelan out and Cyril bitch-slapping his brother unconscious. After dealing with them, the water-filled tubes around them begin to slightly change hue from an almost clear blue to a toxic green. Then, suddenly appearing from a nearby rooftop is a gelatinous monster the crew are just barely able to recognize as the Vice Admiral they defeated on G4, Arson, and the battle commences. During it, they send Pearl off to fetch Trevor. Proving to be their toughest battle yet, the crew was yet again pushed to their limits while attempting to disallow this former Marine vengeance. Noticing Bio-Arzen was in over his head, the slime creature sprouts a pair of wings and begins hovering above the battlefield, assaulting the crew from the skies. To counter this, Verona decides to animate one of his bullets to punch the hell out of him once inside his body, to which the bullet complies and enacts his diligence. After that, Pearl arrives back with the sad news that Trevor was nowhere to be found, but she believes he was taken prisoner to the fortress in the center of town. Eventually, the crew knock Arzen down with their javelins, hand axes, and the like. Once Arzen crashes to the ground, he immediately jolts up and barrels towards Cyril, threatening to kill him if they don't let him escape. They comply, and once they confirm the boy is safe, they unload a Devil's Luck jackpot into Arzen's back. Pissed, the Goo Man unleashes a 40-foot goo explosion, knocking Duros, Louis, Cyril, along with Ragnar unconscious, and also destroying Healy, leaving only William and Verona still standing. In that very moment, though, the bullet Verona had previously animated punches into Bio-Arzen's heart, at last laying this amalgamation that couldn't even be considered human to rest. The duo wake up the rest of the crew, but before they're able to leave the area and drag the couple back to their ship, the group are apprehended by policemen, who appear to gradually be increasing in size and age. They knocked the first one out, but William's annoyance was growing thin, so he shot the next one's head straight off. Following his captain's lead, Verona murders the other one, and they finally make their way back to the ship. Oh, those were two innocent people. Oh boy. Once there, after a long debate, the crew decide to take an hour-long rest, and thus march onward towards the fortress. Arriving, they see a man resembling the long-since-dead Marine Captain Viridian, Verona's father. The marksman, faced with an internal conflict, concludes there's no logical way this could be his real father, and denounces him an imposter to his crew. Upon hearing this, the man resembling Viridian begins contorting, twisting, and transforming into a large mechanical beast. The only thing still resembling a human is the face of Verona's father. But soon that faceplate is swept out with many faces of the past, including Adam, Luna, Magnus, and more amidst the fight. Speaking of amidst the fight, Captain Hastings appeared, who, like Viridian's imposter before, was also quick to transform into a giant version of the mechanical beast they've been fighting up to this point. It was no matter to the crew, though. Cyril did go unconscious, but they did defeat the mechanical constructs with relative ease. During the battle, 6 figures dressed in cultist robes emerged to observe the battle, after which they were slaughtered by the crew for their uniforms to sneak into the fortress. They wandered the far-reaching main hallway of the cathedral-like interior of the base, passing a stained glass glorified storyline of Rain's past. Her father's death, her meeting with Captain Hastings, the two fighting side by side, Hastings' death with Rain grieving, and eventually they display the girl in talks with V and Arzen. Eventually, William uses his panache to deceive a cultist by the name of Jeremiah into telling him where Trevor is, turning out to be the catacombs. Once they arrive, they meet Jam, the head jailer, who William also seduces, so the man gives William the keys to the cell. Next, William successfully steals from V's son, who Ragnar distracts with his sexy chest, and everyone then marches onward to the Allmother's chamber. Inside, rivers are flowing throughout, with a staircase leading up to the throne at the far end of the room. Behind the throne is a raised coffin with the body of Captain Hastings inside, and sitting atop the throne is the Allmother. The woman, clearly a victim of manipulation by V and Arzen, wouldn't listen to reason, and simply repeated the words her brothers had instilled in her. The devils will come, and they will come with lies. Understanding there's no way they could convince her otherwise, combat was initiated as they hurled their projectiles towards Rain. In retaliation, the blindfolded woman summoned 4 Sea Kings. Minutes of back and forth later, and the battle had come to another standstill. Throughout the fight, the crew's confidence in the words they spoke made it seem as if they were, to her dismay, speaking the truth of her followers' evil actions. Eventually, these words broke through her fragile mind and persuaded the woman into realizing her life had been a lie, and she had been all but a tool to fuel these malicious endeavors. Verona chimed in, exclaiming, 1, Viridian is dead, which she didn't realize beforehand, and 2, her followers are the ones that killed him. He used this as a segue to demonstrate just a taste of the horrendous acts her followers commit on a daily basis, to thousands. Suddenly, her blindfold could be seen becoming darker where her eyes would be. She had begun crying, exclaiming the voices in her head were getting louder and more intense, until she soon could only be described as having a mental breakdown, piercing the ears of the Devil's Luck pirates with her wails of emotional pain. As this happened, the Sea Kings rushed out of the room as the walls began crumbling, revealing stacks upon stacks of corpses lining the walls. The bodies began tumbling down on top of each other. At first, it seemed as if they were simply falling down, but the corpses began to conglomerate and became a shambling mass of the undead. The crew attempted to non-lethally knock Rain unconscious many times throughout the battle, but were, in the end, overpowered by the monstrosity, eventually forcing Verona to shoot the woman dead so they wouldn't be slaughtered themselves. In a tear-filled death, Rain mouthed, "Thank you, and I'm so sorry," as she was finally put out of her misery. After the craziness had settled, they exited the throne room to find every one of the cultists dead, with their bodies crushed, split in two, decapitated, you name it. Trevor began taking care of all the official paperwork, having Jefferson arrested and calling the Marines for a thorough investigation into the cult. Before they exit the building, they discover one Aeon survivor whose name we learn to be Jester later on. They let the boy leave and they soon left as well. Before setting sail, William and Trevor made a bet with each other. So the brothers decided to duel each other the next day, to which William blew himself up by accident before it's even started. Trevor was supposed to take his sword back for winning, but the soon-to-be Vice Admiral pats his fallen brother on the shoulder and smirks, before thanking him and telling the brother to never change. And then Trevor takes his leave. With Boss and the Yogi-Poo 2 still at the underwater city, the next destination was clear: the Oasis. Wait, not yet. The crew stop at the Crystal Lagoon, a resort they stumbled upon on the way. Here, Verona struggles to discover what fun truly is after finally getting the revenge and closure he desired his whole life. While that happens, they defeat a crazy homeless dude by the name of Crystal Pete, but more importantly, they also defeat Alvaro Pizarro, who's in the process of taking over the island with the help of a monkey mink running the resort named Chip. As thanks for their help taking down the pirates, Chip gifted Verona a banana sword, and they move on to the Oasis. Once arrived, they see a giant floating coliseum, as well as a dozen or so other ships surrounding the isle. Once docked, they pass by Blake, who doesn't appear to be his usual self. Lissa and Gravy decide to stay above ground, and the latter attempts to chat with him to cheer him up, as the rest of the crew descend down the elevator once again. Immediately, they realize the Oasis isn't nearly as pristine or high class as it used to be, with many buildings having boarded up or broken windows, many of the street lanterns smashed, etc. Entering into the city, they're promptly greeted by Dane Goodman, the tournament organizer, and his assistant Paige, claiming he has an offer for them. They decide to discuss the meeting over some ale at a nearby tavern. Before they arrive, Louis wanders off. Once they arrive, they are given an opportunity into the new world via Paige's Devil Fruits, a power allowing her to swap the places of any two things if they win Dane's tournament in a week's time. They agree. Now that they have some time to kill, they visit the bacon sandwich shop, to which they find the body of Kevin Bacon, splayed out on the counter with Louis standing next to him in handcuffs, being detained by a man in a black suit. They knock out the man, bury Kevin, send Louis to bring Inspector Sterling, that's his name, up to their ship, and they head to the Queen's Gambit. Here they walk in on Boss and Roulette getting it on, and William's eyes are scarred for life. Boss is definitely looking worse for wear though, and tells them Roulette knows a man who could revert his body to normal in the new world, giving them even more reason to go. She also informs them of the three-way gang war the crew started last time they were here, and the crew decide to attempt to put an end to it by defeating Big Top, all because they've got nothing better to do right now. Before that, they decide to pay the Eight Flames a visit. As the elevator dings, they see a bloodied and beaten Bullet in Hemlock's arms, who they figure out was so wounded from Blake, who figured out Bullet landed the gruesome finishing blow on Cleo. Down here, the group discusses a far too convoluted plan to bring the Dons together, which included making a Thanksgiving dinner in the middle of town to assist in taking down Big Top. After making Hemlock cry out of confusion, the six re-enter the elevator and enter Spinkle's shop yet again. Mozzarella the mouse mink, a subordinate of the elephant, appears waiting for them. With ease, they turn this mouse into Swiss cheese and order Motz's two men to work for Sprinkle now. Anyway, the crew split up into different parties. Cyril and Pearl made their way back up to the Yogi Poo and switched out with Gravy on ship duty. 3 parties were assigned with convincing the different Dons to attend the Thanksgiving dinner. William headed to the Elephant's place, Verona makes his way to the Prospector, and Duros back to Roulette. While this was happening, Ragnar was tasked with creating the most elegant of elegant tables. On the way to the Queen's Gambit, Duros was intercepted by a henchman of the Big Top, who chauffeured the knights all the way to the man himself. Big Top at first seemed like he was simply desiring to strike a deal with the crew. But soon, Duros figured out Big Top had captured Lissa and was now blackmailing the crew with her life. Big Top demanded he fetch his captain to discuss the deal further, so Duros, fuming, begrudgingly complied, and trudged out of Big Top's casino with an anger so great he emitted conqueror's hockey, causing the casino goers to pass out as he made his way onward. Once everyone reconvenes, they figure out Louis, along with Alyssa, is also missing. While discussing their next plans, the crew are approached by Dan Goodman, who they slip-shoddily invite to the dinner before quickly visiting Roulette and inviting her. Everyone arrives for Thanksgiving, and they all enjoy a lovely turkey cooked by Gravy. All but Dan Goodman, who hadn't eaten or drank anything. With that, as well as him being suspicious throughout the entire dinner, William brings it up, to which he still refuses to even have a sip of his coffee. So the captain slashes at his arm, revealing not blood, but wood. He screams in anger, and the mannequin of Dan Goodman collapses to the ground. With the new knowledge of Dane being replaced since Paige last saw him, which they know because he ate previously at the tavern, the five retrace their steps back to that tavern's bathroom, which should be the only time Paige and Dane split up. Inside, a hole beneath one of the toilets is discovered, leading down to a small room filled with, this time, lifeless mannequins, as well as a beaten and bruised Dan Goodman. The man and his secretary leave and thank them, and the now four head towards the bacon sandwich shop, where they find a hidden lever in the back room, revealing yet another staircase. Here they find a jailer by the name of Marmalade, who is revealed to be Jam from the Aeons base's brother. But more importantly, Lissa. Louis still remains unaccounted for though, so they talk to Helper, who informs them he saw Louis and his twin brother entering a nearby cavern. So they make a beeline for the bathroom yet again, unveiling a third staircase. The five descend the flights and find another group of mannequins, but this time they're not so faceless. All of these ones have facial features resembling other, presumably Oasis residents, and buried with them is Louis. The wooden figures begin moving and combat ensues. After which, they wake Louis up, and then they meet Jimmy! William likes the way he talks, so he was invited on the crew. So, he agrees. Finally, they round up the members of their crew and their new allies from Thanksgiving, including the Dons, and charge Big Top's castle with their army of about 100 men. The main crew, once inside, are tasked with taking down Pip and Slots, Big Top's first and second commanders. They do manage that quite easily, though during one of Slots' attacks, an egg appeared, soon hatching into a tiny man Verona dubbed Little Ricky, after their fallen comrade Rick, who also joined the crew as their accountant. Venturing deeper into the castle, they reach Big Top's office, but the man had already been slain. A mannequin could be seen standing over the man's corpse, and then immediately appearing on the visual dent and mushy screens as Jester. He explains his goal was to take over the Oasis for his boss, and that he doesn't want to kill the crew since they did save him before, but they are in his way, so there's no other choice. Just then, a group of mannequins come out from hiding, who Jester turns into replicas of the Devil's Luck pirates, and the battle begins. I feel like a broken record continuously saying this, but it is D&D, so anyways, this proves itself to be the toughest battle thus far, and yet the Devil's Luck pirates are victorious. William investigates the room afterward and finds a lucky ring he gives to Verona, then severs Big Top's head and tosses it in front of a bickering trio of Dons. The crew intervenes and silences them with a suggestion of Hemlock becoming the new leader of the Oasis, under the flag of the Devil's Luck pirates, to which everyone agrees, and Hemlock decides to move the Eight Flames base to Big Top's castle, newly named Satan's Prosperity. Everyone took the now vacant rooms in the castle and slept like bears, Ragnar especially, and woke up to Dan Goodman, exclaiming they can do the tournament now if they like, and so they embark on a side quest for team uniforms, and find a tailor to begin crafting their outfits. Since they had some more time to kill, they decided to search for a weapon shop in the meantime, which was unfortunately a bust. Just some kid selling a water gun for 1,000,000 berries out of his parents' house. In any case, they pick up their uniforms, let the old tailor man know he's free, and him and his shop wisp away as if it was never there in the first place. Alright. Alright. And make their way to the Colosseum, and soon the tournament begins! Their first battle was against the Stumblebeard pirates, who they obviously wiped the floor with, killing every one of their crew with absolute ease. Besides Balloon Man, who floated away mid-fight. Their next foe was Bumblebeard, who definitely proved to be more challenging. Eventually, though, they were able to... Well, actually, I'm gonna quote the wiki on this because I love the way they put it. At some point, B-Boy ate the Bee's own devil fruit and joined Bumblebeard's crew. Then he got ventilated by William, bringing down the average age of his prey. Oh, I love that. Anyway, they knock out the rest of them and win. The grand finals are finally upon us. The Devil's Luck Pirates versus Fruit Salad. But Dan Goodman decided to switch up the formats entirely for this one into 4 1v1s of different contests. Ragnar vs. Strawberry in a thumb war. Ragnar sweep! Let's go! Verona versus Banana in a trivia contest. Banana sweeping, don't talk about that. Go next. William versus Grape in a rap battle. William wins by default by causing Grape to fly into the sky and then dropping him mid-rap, causing him to splat on the ground. Woohoo! Duros versus Pineapple in a smiling competition. Duros sweep! And with that, the Devil's Luck Pirates have officially beaten Fruit Salad and won the tournament. Let's go! The crew decides to throw a bomb-ass party as a celebration. William rolls a fruit that allows him to turn anything into guns. So the captain and Bullets have the time of their lives transforming different objects at the party into pistols while getting smashed. Speaking of getting smashed in his drunken state, Ragnar begins snorting a line of Spinkle's Blue Rainbow Sampler, turning him into a liquid state. Then William snorts a red one and falls madly in love with Bullets. He confesses his newfound feelings for the woman, and it turns out she felt the same way. We'll push that lovey-dovey couple to the side though, because Ragnar and William are going in for more. Upon snorting the green one, William multiplies. With the purple one, Ragnar can understand and talk to animals. But the only one here is Hemlock Snake, so he begins chatting up Noodle. Keep in mind the majority of these were reversed by Louis so they could use them later. Once William's effects are reversed, in his drunken state, he continues to flirt with Bullets and they eventually make out. Speaking of couples, Lissa and Verona head back to the ship and spend the rest of the night studying every single riddle in the world they can think of, so he never loses a riddle competition again. The rest of the party goers either leave or fall asleep at the party. Of them, Bullets and William fall asleep together on the couch. The next day, Dane Goodman and Paige make good on their promise of teleporting the crew to a port town in the New World. Duros, gone. Ragnar, gone. Pearl, gone. An apprehensive Cyril, gone. A weird Louis, gone. Gravy, gone. Little Ricky, gone. Jimmy, gone. Verona, gone. Lissa, gone. Boss, gone. The Yogi Poo 2, gone. And finally, William, gone. They awoke, but they were not on a dock, nor in the sunlight. Instead, they were greeted with darkness surrounding them. The sound of water droplets slowly dripping into a puddle could be heard, and the ground was hard and cold beneath them. As their eyes adjusted, they were soon able to make out stone walls surrounding them on all sides, with amputated corpses hung on the walls amongst the crew. And in front of them were a set of rusty silver bars, confining the Devil's Luck Pirates. To be continued. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is my first video with my standing desk now, so I can actually record it with my mic up here, my camera here. So I hope it was fun. I feel like I'm more energetic up here. I can like dance around, but it'll probably sound worse on the mic because I'm like moving away from the mic and back up to it. But I do have an audio leveler on my editing program, so maybe that'll make it better. I don't really know. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day. Peace.